It's pretty awesome. There we go. Furball, had to cough that out. It's one of those moments. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, you didn't tell me there'd be editing.
Yeah, there's absolute editing. Trust me, Mike will take care of us. So, all right, so here we go. We're close. We're good, Mike? Yeah. We're good. Awesome. There we go. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Rodney Beal's Inspired by Live podcast with an audience. So give it up. So people know it's real, that there was an audience here. Super awesome. This is our third live interview with an audience, and we're so super excited to be in the space with the most fabulous person that I have known for a while, but I will not say how long. Suffice to say, Donna Collins is... We all need someone who is going to be the guardian angel of art in the state of Ohio.
Oh, I wonder if I could get that as my new title.
You must. We will go make a proclamation for that. And so she has been guiding the Ohio Arts Council for well over 11 years, correct?
Yep.
So we're going to go into the history and all of those good things, and we're going to talk about all things art. I've got my questions on my phone, but Donna is just a joy to work with. And so... Donna Collins, here we are.
Here we are, Rodney Beal.
Yes, yay! It's so super cool. Yes, give it up. Yay! She's awesome. She's super awesome. All right, Donna, I'm not going to pull one of those, let's go back in the hot tub time machine and talk about your life. But I'm kind of curious for people who don't know, because you are in arts administration, but, you don't start off with the dream of, I'm going to be an arts administrator. So what was your first dream?
Well, back when I was 6 years old,
I love it.
I acted in my first theater production of Little Blue, Little Yellow. And the little boy who played the lead beside me was very bossy and tried to upstage me all the time, although I didn't know that at the time. And so I decided opening night, we had 2 plays. We had so many parents and grandparents who wanted to come, that if he tried to upstage me in front of my grandma and my papa, that I would take care of him.
Gangster moves. Yeah. I love it.
And so, the little theater stage, the stage curtains opened, and he got sick.
Oh.
I mean, sick. And so I felt bad because I thought I had willed that on him so that he would not upstage me. And so I learned that night that I had more power than I deserved and that I didn't really have to take anything from little boys, that I could be my own person. So it all started on that little theater stage, trying to figure out who I was, right? Yeah. Little blue, little yellow. We made green. If he'd stayed healthy, maybe, but it was green all over the floor.
Green all over the floor.
Yeah. So that really did happen. And after that, I just wanted to be a mom and a teacher all of my life. We played school incessantly at my house. I talked my teachers into giving me the leftover dittos, so that'll tell you how old I am if we had dittos. You ran them off on the mimeograph.
So we're talking hand cranking technology here.
That's right. It was innovative then,
yes.
Right? So I just knew that I wanted to be a teacher. And so my dad convinced me that I probably didn't want to be a teacher, that I wanted to be a principal because I was so bossy, right?
Okay.
You'll never be satisfied to be a teacher. So I went to school. I was never a principal, but I did teach Head Start because that was really important to me as I learned more about our community, family life, what some kids didn't have, and what I was so fortunate to have growing up. And I had my own children then. My oldest son, TJ, was actually born on this day, and he passed away in 2010. And so it's because of him that I'm in the arts. He was a theater kid, Ren, and we actually sent him to the University of Cincinnati, and we paid tuition, and he did community theater. Did you hear me? He had horrible grades. But looking back, those were some of the best years of his short life, right? So at any rate, when he was in high school, he had taken all the theater courses, and he wanted to have a tech course. Michael, this is for you. He wanted to have a tech course, and they didn't offer it. So because he's my son, we had a petition drive for the principal to explain to him why we needed to have tech training, and that it was job creation, and that this was something kids could get taught in college. And so from that point on, I knew that I had a job to do for kids like him. And so at the time, I was working for the Parent Teacher Association, the state PTA, and I got involved with the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education.
Mm-hmm. That's where
and I know that's where we met.
That's where we met, which is really lovely.
Yeah. Got to know Jane D'Angelo for, I don't know, a couple decades, maybe almost 3 now. And my life changed because all of a sudden, it wasn't just about my kid. Okay. It was about everybody's kid. And so I got hooked on policy, which meant I was going to the State House, doing testimony, trying to help people understand the value of sharing their stories. I didn't really know how to talk about it then, but I knew if I could convince an elected official to change policy, I could change the world. And so my work led me to be the advocate for the Ohio Arts Council's budget for 12 years. And when the director there retired, I was encouraged to apply for the job. I applied, and they hired me, and here I am today, a state employee working for you, Rodney Veal.
Yes. Not that I have that kind of power, but working with you. I mean, so one of the things that, as I pull up my phone, because I have my questions on there, is like, I'm just like this journey. Like it's not, and that's one of the things that I've discovered with doing this podcast with artists and arts administrators and people who are in the arts. It's not a linear journey. But there are things that's a catalyst for you to be in this position, and so you're at this high level position in the state. And I don't think a lot of people understand that Ohio is a big state. We are a very large state, and there's a lot that goes on. And I'm kind of curious about what have you seen and observed in all this time in the state of Ohio that just astounds you that the state of Ohio is so embracing of the arts? Because it is kind of unusual for a state to be this embracive of the arts.
I think you're right about that. And we've seen over time, way before I was at the Arts Council, that policymakers at the state level almost continuously support the arts. An example, during Governor Mike DeWine's term of office, our budget has risen 75%. So when I came to the agency, our budget was about $14 million a biennium, and today it's $52 million. Yeah, right?
Yes. Oh, there's a love.
But I would say to you, the narrative has changed because we no longer need, times change. We no longer need to talk about our value, just like we don't need to talk about why the arts are important. We know why the arts are important, right? So we've got to move the conversation to how the arts impact people, how it changes lives, how education is increased, how job opportunities change, how the world changes because we're in this place of arts and cultural and heritage. And so when I think about where we've been at the Arts Council and where we're going money-wise, it's up and to the right. Everybody wants to see that graph go up and to the right. But we changed the narrative. It's not about us. We're state employees doing a job that the legislature empowered us to do through policy. It's telling the story of all of you. So you can't go before a policymaker and say, we need more money, give the Arts Council more money. But we can say, We want to tell you about ThinkTV. We want to tell you about CultureWorks. We want to tell you about teaching artists like Sierra Leone. We want to tell you about mayors who support the arts in their cities. And all of a sudden, it's about funding communities and people and what's good for kids and arts education. I would share with you at the Ohio Arts Council, we invest more than $3 million directly every year in arts education grant awards. Those are direct awards. That doesn't count what arts organizations are doing with their operating support dollars. And quite frankly, across the nation, there are state arts councils whose full budgets are less than our arts education spending. There are per capitas of 9 cents a person in a state in the nation. And we're, at $1 something now. $1.62 maybe, I think.
Per person. Wow.
Yeah, per person.
So and so that investment in people, because I love the fact that you talk about it as being storytelling. And so a lot of people have a mistaken notion that it is all about the dollars. It really is more than that. It is really, like you said, one of the things that I've always been impressed by is the fact that the Ohio Arts Council, when people get excited about receiving funding, it's not because they're receiving the money. It's because they know that somewhere someone is going to have a ripple effect, and that someone's life is going to be impacted and changed, and the community is going to get to a chance to embrace art and culture. And that just, you have a front row seat to all of this. That's got to be pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And so when I think about that storytelling, I'm telling your story. I'm going to get to tell the stories of a couple of artists that I talked to tonight about how they're thinking about their lives and their businesses. And, no one wants to fund state government, but they do want to fund their communities. So as you speak to, Rodney, I know you do this, you're a good advocate. As you speak to legislators, it's your opportunity to brag about ThinkTV, about EPIC, about Ohio Dance, about any number of organizations you're part of. Because those are the stories. We can supply the data, so that's the both and part of it.
Right.
We can talk about when folks do their final reports, we gather data, how many people participated, how many kids had opportunities for arts ed, how many people were employed, how many volunteers. So we've got the data, but we want to tell your stories and we want you to tell your story. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And so one of the things that I'm kind of curious, because you, like you said, you're a state agency and you're dealing with politicians and they are human beings. One of the things that's what I'm very curious about is when you're telling the story, how receptive are they to beyond the facts, the storytelling? Because a lot of people have a mistaken belief that politicians don't care about people and they're in it for themselves. They're in it to, get elected and stay as an elected official. But is that your experience, or is it something different?
It's something different. So in all my years of meeting with legislators, and we're talking, many legislators, we have 99 House members, 33 senators, the governor, the lieutenant governor, his cabinet, and so forth. And I have only had one legislator in 30 years say to me, do we really need the arts? And, I tell them why, because it was the old days. And I said...
it's like, hit your wagon. Come on, do it.
They know now. It's okay.
It's all right.
So I looked around his office, and I said, oh, it looks like you like NASCAR. Oh, I love NASCAR. And he's telling me all about the driver and the car. And I said, well, who do you think does that decoration? Because that would be a language he understood. Who do you think does that decoration on that car?
Yeah. An artist.
Oh, I think the corporate logos are all that's on there. Oh, well, wait, who do you think designs corporate logos? And we got into this whole thing. We talked about fashion. We talked about how you market. And all of a sudden he said, oh, yeah, I think I could vote for what you're asking for. Do you know any race car drivers? And I said, well, my brother is a motorcycle driver and he races. I could introduce you to him, but I don't know any guys that drive that car that you have up on your shelf. He's the only one. Everyone
in
else.
30 years.
So when and I don't mean this to sound boastful, because it's not boastful.
No, absolutely not.
Because it's not me. It's the Rodneys and the Janes and the Timothys. And it is when you're able to connect to people one-on-one that legislators understand the story. When you're talking about Smith Elementary, or you're talking about a teacher they know. And many times I discover that legislators' spouses are teachers or principals or college educators. And oftentimes they tell me how they learned to play piano at church. They sang in the school choir. Just yesterday, Kirk Schuring's memorial service, Kirk was from Canton, and he passed away late in state yesterday. And the Speaker of the House, who will be the Senate President in January, talked about how Kirk would come into his office singing a song, and the job of the speaker was to do the refrain, and we'll do it together. And he sang that at the memorial service.
Wow.
And I thought, they get the arts. They understand. They're soothed by music. They use it for humor. They use it for ways to build each other up. And I find that that's more true than it's not. And often when I testify during budget season before a subcommittee of finance in the House or the finance committee in the Senate, I'll start and I'll have my prepared remarks. And before it's over, they're testifying to me. Did you know that my so-and-so did so-and-so, and my daughter played the lead in, and my granddaughter is in the Nutcracker? And I was like, I didn't know. And we have this conversation in public, in front of an audience, and they're doing my job for me. So life is good, right?
Yeah, it is.
And it's really hard for them to say no to the arts because they know what it does. You know what it does here in Dayton and the surrounding communities. And you all have great stories to tell. Yeah. And you're lucky because you have a funding partner here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though some businesses have left the region, others have stepped up, and you have foundations. Mm-hmm. So life is good here. Yeah. You have a mayor who supports the arts. In fact, did you know Mayor Mims used to be on the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education board? And he's a visual art teacher. So, you know, you never know.
You never know if your politician's into it. I just found out that Congressman Mike Turner is our representative for the Congressional Arts Caucus.
That's right.
And so it's one of those situations where I feel like our job, like my job, especially at ThinkTV, is to dispel myths, is to kind of have these conversations so that people can, gain a hopefully a little bit better of an understanding of what it is. Is there some myth that people, and speaking of that, of what people think the Ohio Arts Council is and what it actually is? Is there a dichotomy between not the elected officials, but people who apply? I think there's some people who think that it's just a cash ATM, but it's beyond that.
It is not a cash ATM.
Thank you. Please.
Just like CultureWorks and other funders around the state, we are built on integrity. We have processes. We have boards that adopt budgets. We have programs that are figured out through a formula. I can't tell you the formula, but someone in my office can.
Yes.
And we care as much about artists as we care about arts organizations or other nonprofits who deliver the arts. And so to that point, if I could, we heard from constituents, artists, who said, I love that you give the Individual Excellence Award. So that's a $5,000 award for a body of work, not future work, but work you've already done. And it's not to buy more art supplies unless you want to, but it is an award that comes in the form of a grant for your work. And I think that's really important. But artists said, I'm not at that place where I can give you a full body of work that I think will reach the excellence point with your panelists, because we have public panels for our applications. So our board created the Artist Opportunities grant program. It sounds a little familiar to some of you in the room, because we have this dual thing. When we do it well, we share our brain trust.
Yeah.
So we have been giving grant awards for professional artists and emerging artists. We also have the Artists with Disabilities program. We have capacity building opportunities, and artists are welcome to do all of those programs. And so in some states, they don't give artists awards, period. And so we're lucky in Ohio that we're able to do that. And we also support artist residencies. We support artists going to conferences and doing their own professional development. So artists are really important to us. And somebody said, well, what if you don't have enough money? What are you going to cut? I said, well, we're always going to have enough money. And we're going to keep going up and to the right. We can't have a negative attitude. We can't work from a deficit mindset.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they said, well, would you cut the artist programs? I said, why would we cut the artist programs? Because nothing else works if we don't have artists.
If there are no artists, it kind of makes no sense for there to be institutions.
That's right.
And I've always believed in that, because I know from my experience with CultureWorks and with the Montgomery County Arts and Cultural District,
That's right.
that I have received those fellowship grants, and they matter. They matter because I'm sitting in front of you having this conversation, because this was not on the bingo card of life. So
Rodney, what do you do when you get a grant award, when you've gotten a grant award in the past? So you spend the money, but how do you make it work for you, and how do you help pay it forward for someone else?
Well, I mean, first you got to do the happy dance.
I've heard that. In fact, I've seen it three times
she's
today.
Seen it 3 times today, because the Ohio Dance got 2 awards, so grant awards, and I'm so excited because I'm the board president of Ohio Dance. Full disclosure, I do a lot of things.
And full disclosure, those were not from the Ohio Arts Council.
No, they were not from the Ohio Arts Council. So there we go. Integrity matters, but for me, it's like it was a validation for the work that I was doing. And then I figured out a way, because I'm a choreographer, was to invite people into my process, so that it was an opportunity to pay my friends who were dancers who needed just a little pocket change. Could you work with me, and we'll create a piece, and we'll perform it, And so it was my way of reinvesting back into what that grant dollar said, was that I matter. My voice matters. I matter. And it matters in the state of Ohio. That it's happening in Ohio. Because a lot of people are like, oh, if you're going to dance or be an artist, go to New York and LA. And I always say all the time, don't fall asleep on the state of Ohio.
That's right.
We are just as strong and vibrant. And where do you think those artists in LA and New York come from? They come from Ohio.
That's right.
So I just say that. I always have to constantly say that. But that's giving back, and you're supposed to give back. And so it's not I don't know what that selfish mindset would ever be, to be like, I just must have all the money, because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't do anything.
I don't meet many artists with that mindset. It's always about giving back, doing the next right thing, finding a way for a young person. I would say something that's also really important is, if you're asked to provide a final report, do it on time. Write complete sentences.
Yeah, I've been hounded once. But
write complete sentences and give us the data. Because if you're going to tell the story, or we're going to tell your story because you provided us information, remember I said I'd provide the data. But I can't provide the big state data without the individual data.
Right, and I equated that in the job that I had at St. Clair Community College, was that you could have the data, but you needed the narrative.
That's right.
You needed that storytelling to kind of validate what we're saying. And one of the things that I've been fortunate. I recognize my fortune. I recognize my gratitude is legit, and I think from your perspective, it's very legit as well. I'm kind of curious, because you like I said, you're all over the state. I would love to air tag you, so you would see how you ping in every corner of the state of Ohio. And what would surprise somebody, that where that would surprise them where art is being made and culture is being created. A place that has surprised you off the beaten path. Because you've been off the beaten path. I mean, you really have.
I will share with you, I think Somerset, Ohio is a tiny little village in southeast Ohio, not far from where I live. They've created a builders club. They're teaching people how to use tools. It's sort of like an idea foundry or a place where you can go and make and create, but you don't have to invest in the tools. They do glass etching there. They have a machine that helps you do that. They have saws, and they also have they're working on a recording studio. So in a little town village, it's not even a town, it's a village like Somerset, you anticipate that there would be the guys at the coffee donut shop, right, in the morning. But it's really all about arts and culture. It's about beautifying their downtown. It's about arts education in the school district. I think we could go to any little burg in this state and they're making art. And you know how I know that?
Because you're there.
Because I'm there.
Because you're there.
I would
There's
like
one.
to
I
be
know
there.
you're there because I know. Good.
So when I came to the Arts Council 11 years ago, we were funding about 53, 55 counties a year. And I had been meeting with a legislator, House Member Ryan. I'm trying not to give all the tools away.
That's okay.
And he goes, Donna, I love what you do, but you don't do it in my district. I said, we don't? I'm surprised. I know this person at Rio Grande. I know this person. I know this artist. Nope, no grants in my district.
Wow.
So I go back to the office, I talk with my team, and I say, I need to see a report of all the counties where we have grants this year. 53 of 88 counties. So we said, this is not the 53 County Arts Council. This is the Ohio Arts Council. Mm-hmm. And so literally for 6 months, I Googled a place and hunted for arts. So libraries have arts, churches have arts, schools have arts, county courthouses have sometimes arts programs. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I would call people up and say, hey, we have not funded the arts in your county. Are you interested in receiving some money? Sometimes they just hung up. Right? Like, who is calling me?
People, Donna?
I was cold calling people. And I remember in a very little small town, the gentleman said to me, give me your number, I'm going to call you back. And I said, well, I'm going to give you our main line so somebody else answers the phone, right? Because I needed to be responsive to his fear of who I might be or who I was representing. So when he called back, he said, okay, you sound legit. I've got some questions for you. We have a little theater here. It's mom and pop run. We don't have any staff. Do I have to hire people you want me to hire? I said, for what jobs? Because I kind of wanted him to get real with me a little bit. And he goes, for any job. I said, no. Do we have to paint the walls like your branded colors I see on your website? And I said, no, you don't. Well, what's the catch? I said, do you pay taxes? And he goes, well, of course. I am a good man. I pay my taxes. I said, well, we just want to give some of the tax money back to your community that you all are paying in to the state of Ohio. And he was like, okay, I'm going to talk to my wife and I'll call you back. And he calls back and we gave them a small grant. He wrote a page and told us what they were going to do, I think with $1,500.
Wow.
$1,500 was money they didn't have. And this gentleman and his wife were paying the little, it was really like a theater in a tiny house. But the community came, all the time. And it was active. And they were paying the electric bill and the maintenance for the furnace and all those things and the heat. They didn't have air conditioning themselves. And all of a sudden, they had money to pay those things they were taking out of their own retirement funds, or maybe their Social Security. I didn't get that nosy. But it changed the way we thought about how we serve constituents.
Yeah.
So my team now, we work across every county in the state, and for 9 years we have funded every county in the state with multiple grant awards.
Yeah.
I'm Bonnie Miles, Membership Coordinator of CET. Thank you for listening to Rodney Veal's Inspired By. This podcast is a production of CET and ThinkTV, 2 local PBS stations. As PBS stations, the work we do online, on air, and in the community is supported by listeners like you. If you're enjoying the show and would like to support our work, please consider becoming a member at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org. Plus, when you sign up to donate at least $5 a month, you'll get access to special members-only streaming videos on the PBS app through Passport. Learn more at cetconnect.org or thinktv.org.
If you're enjoying this conversation, The Art Show, also hosted by Rodney Veal, is available to stream anytime from anywhere on YouTube or the PBS app.
It's that kind of, I think what I want our audience to understand is it's that kind of diligence and dedication and understanding, and also an empathy and compassion.
Right.
Because you have to lead with empathy and compassion when you're dealing with the arts and culture, because to that $1,500, and to some people, I know people that they can spend $1,500 on a jacket I know $1,500 could make or break someone paying their rent and paying for food in their home to feed their kids. At this, $5 may change someone's life. And there are people in my family that way. It's the gambit. And we have to understand and recognize the gambit of humanity, and you do that so beautifully. And I get to watch you do it. I get to like popcorn it out with the popcorn and go, look at Donna go.
Stop.
You be that awesome humanitarian.
Oh, you're sweet. But here's the deal. I have a board of 15 people who are appointed by the governor from around the state.
Yeah.
John Holt from right here in Dayton is on my board. They give us the authority to do this work. They could stifle us. They could change policies that would impact how we do outreach, how we travel to get to see people and see places. And I have a team of 18 people. I make the 19th, and they work so hard every single day. I could not do this work without our team. They're dedicated. Mm-hmm. We're like a family who really cares deeply about the mission. And you all would love it because they just jump in, just like family. Kathy and Chaz, for instance, in our individual artist programs, they're doing panel meetings. I think 15 days of panel meetings in the month of December, right? That's a lot.
Yes, that's a lot of work.
And they're willing to go the extra mile so that the board has really good information and materials for a book that goes out the 5th of January. So they're getting panel comments together. They're formatting materials. And some folks may say, well, that's just administration. No. It's a lot of work of listening and hearing and working with the panelists and being responsive to what the board wants to know. They want to know about the organization or the artist. They want to know which counties they're from. Are they from rural places? Are they from Appalachia? A lot of Ohio is rural, and people don't think about that, those folks who live in cities, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But all over the state, we have rural locations where people live and make art and are culturally intuitive to what's best for their community. So I can't do this work without a board who gives us permission, and without a team that, if they didn't come to work every day, I'd probably have to bring Jane D'Angelo and the other statewide art service organizations people.
Jane, I'm sorry, I'm not giving her up. It's like a trading card. I refuse.
Hey, she's in my car today, so.
But I'm her board president, and I promise to stay her board president until I drop dead. So that trumps it. Sorry. Okay. I love Jane. I mean, I just adore.
We all love Jane.
Absolutely, and you get to this is questionable because it's statewide service agencies, and that's the thing. I don't think a lot of people understand that there are state statewide service agencies supporting the arts, and Ohio Dance is one. What are some of the other state agencies?
Sure. The Ohio Alliance for Arts Education. So they provide professional development for arts educators and teaching artists, and policy work, advocacy work for arts education policy, as well as they're great advocates for our budget. Heritage Ohio is a statewide arts service organization. You put me on the spot. I'm going to forget that. Oh my gosh, Art Possible Ohio. Some folks know that formerly as Very Special Arts, or VSA Ohio.
Yeah, I remember that.
Working with artists with disabilities and teaching artists. And they have programs, Real Abilities, REEL, by filmmakers of different abilities. We're just so lucky in this state. And the work that Ohio Dance does lifts up dance, but Jane is also working with teaching artists, and that group of people, together with the Arts Council, have the Ohio Teaching Artist roster. Sierra's here tonight. She is on that teaching artist roster. There may be other folks in the audience that I didn't get to talk to yet.
That's awesome things, yes.
But those things serve schools. Being on that roster is another avenue for people to hire teaching artists, whether they're a grantee of ours or CultureWorks or anywhere else. They have a 66, something like that, teaching artists on the roster who have been vetted, who know how to write curriculum, who know how to assess student work, how to work with teachers, how to help the teachers gain the skills the teaching artists have before they leave. The teachers get professional development as part of an award from us. So all of those things add up, and we couldn't do all of that work without the statewide arts service organizations.
And it's one of some of the most important work that we do at Ohio Dance, because it's not just funding in the present the artist, and you've alluded to this. It's about education. It's about moving things forward. What would you say, those in the audience and those who are listening, about like your 30-second, like not even 30 seconds. I don't want to limit you on this, but you give a speech about like why it's important. Arts education, to me, can change lives. It can absolutely transform lives. You know it. Talk about that, because I think it's important for people to understand that.
Sure.
How important teaching the arts is.
Absolutely. So we know that arts education happens way before a kid goes to school. I watched my 3-year-old great-granddaughter. Guess I'm that old.
Oh, no. No, my goodness.
So we had turned on some classical music before dinner on Monday night. She was coming to visit, and I look over, and she's dancing. She hasn't had dance lessons. She's dancing. And then she says, "Will you dance with me?" And then, "Pop, will you dance with me?" And so there it is. There's dance happening, right? They don't stop. They do the happy dance every day. The same for visual art. All you have to do is put out a piece of paper and some crayons, and it begins. You can always tell the kid who's going to go into theater, because the minute they walk into a garage, they're finding the hammer and the nails, right? And the extra pieces of wood, because they're ready to build something.
I need to build a set.
That's right. Yeah. So we know when they get to school can either build them up or tear them down. Yeah. And so kids who have an arts education learn differently. They have opportunities to understand math through choreography, right? Through movement. You can teach lots of things about fractions and numbers by dancing. We think about the world, and we think about color and perspective, and visual art lends itself to that. But when all of the arts, dance, drama, theater, visual art, music, happen, it's an integration into every other subject. They're all core subjects. They work best when they're all together. So a kid can better understand history when they're reading literature, because they can use their imagination. When they read about, this is a bad example, but if they read about the Nutcracker, they can imagine it in their minds because they've seen it in storybooks, from stick figures to very beautiful
Pop-up books.
Pop-up books, yes,
illustrations,
that's right.
yeah.
And they've heard the music and they understand. And so I think that's how we get better readers, because kids have experienced the arts, and they also have the opportunity to think and reflect and grow and make decisions because they've had all these cultural experiences. Can you imagine the kids who are reading poetry for the first time if they'd not had an understanding of rhyme or reason or the ability to memorize and repeat back sometimes really bad stuff, like we don't say those nursery rhymes anymore. But it all adds up so that kids have a full and rich experience. You said 30 seconds. I went over.
No, I didn't want you to have 30 seconds on that. Oh my God, no. But that's so we you've experienced it, you see it, but now let's translate that into artists who are working now. Mm-hmm. You get to see, like, you're not that you're an art critic and you're not, you're not an art critic.
But I like his jewelry.
That's oh, duly noted for Christmas. Here we go. What would you say the artists working now because there's challenges to being an artist and an art maker. What would you say would be an inspirational thing to them that you observe that they maybe need to hear as they're making their art?
This is Donna, not the director of the Arts Council. I would love if when artists gather in a room to work, they thought of people like Bing Davis and James Pate, who together shared a love for art making and sort of a father-son relationship, if you will.
Yeah.
They're artists all over the state, not quite as eloquently choreographed as Bing and James, but who are doing just that, helping each other, finding ways to make it work. If you come to Columbus, you should ask at the Columbus Museum of Art if you can get an appointment to go see the Amina Robinson House.
Oh, this is creeping me out because I'm doing a story on Amina Robinson as a segment of the art show because her exhibit is coming to the Springfield Art Museum in January.
That's right.
And so the giddiness of my job, my career, is like to be able to produce that story. And she is Bing. When I told Bing I was doing the story, his face lit up. He goes, "She's the one person I consider a genius."
Yes, she is.
And that's a high compliment.
And she was a MacArthur genius.
She
That's
was a
right.
MacArthur Genius Grant winner, so she is a genius.
So you should stop by the office. We are fortunate to have 2 Amina Robinson pieces in our collection.
Road trip.
Yeah,
it's
for
real.
sure.
It's happening.
But when I was at Amina's house, I was reminded about genius doesn't come in a neat package. It doesn't have to be tidy. You walk in Amina's front door, and there's writing on the walls. She would have people come in and sign the walls. Hey, come on over. I want you to sign my wall. And you think it's really weird. But now we get to see who visited with her. Spoiler alert. So Amina really liked to have places where she could work independently and quietly sometimes. And so her bathroom had, I think, a bath and a half, or maybe 2 bathrooms, one up, one down. And so she ripped out the bathroom upstairs and made it a writing room. And so you walk in, and it's this tiny little room, and it has a desk and some bookshelves and all these writing utensils and these beautiful papers and scraps, and the back of wallpaper books are torn. It's just so beautiful, and I can't imagine what it would be like to have observed her in this little tiny writing room. Her kitchen floor is covered with things, and then, what's the clear stuff you put over it, epoxy to make it solid or whatever?
Yeah.
You have to go.
I can't wait.
And
I'm like, oh,
a project that the Ohio Alliance for Arts Education and the Arts Council helped fund, a book called Know It by Art Ohio, is on the bookshelf at Amina's house. And so my heart went pitter-patter, like, oh my God, it was so important to her. And this book is right here on her shelf, something I had a hand in, right? And she's inspired so many of us. But artists, so the last thing I'll say about this is artists have to let go of their egos. You are not fighting and competing. You are working together and finding a way for the community. When I think about the project in the Oregon district and how people came together and the beauty that came from such pain, right?
Yeah.
That didn't happen because people's egos got in the way. It came together because people cared. They invested in it. Artists were paid. And we have beauty out of something tragic. So try to give more than you take, and I'll guarantee you more will come your way.
That is my mantra. It's always been my mantra. A lot of people don't know, and I just wrote an article in the Dayton Daily News. I call it safe harbor. My mom is my safe harbor. And I'm grateful for that sort of safe harbor in a potential sea of storms, that she always found a way to make it comfortable for me to be who I was. And I kind of equate that with, Donna, what you and the Ohio Arts Council do. You make it safe for artists to tell their stories, to share their work. It is not ego-driven. You're absolutely right. You got to give back. And my mom chides me on this all the time. She goes, when you need to sleep. And I said, Mom, I know, I need to sleep, but there's a lot to be done. And so I think a lot of people mistake my intentions sometimes, and say things sometimes even yours, for something ego-driven, and it's not. I will have to decompress from this because I'm taking all this energy in. It will probably take me a couple hours, and I'll be sitting on the couch to kind of process having this great conversation with Donna and hanging out with the crew people. But I know tomorrow there's work to be done, and you the same way.
Joy is a 3-letter word.
Yeah.
So is ego, and I would take joy any day.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, what is left from the artist will change future generations, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's always my hope that we leave the world better than we found it. We give more than we take. All those cliche things, but they're true. They're true for me. I know they're true for you, Rodney.
Yeah, they are. And this is why we have a good time. So I think that is the perfect moment to end this conversation. And I'm grateful that I got to spend some time with you. I always get to spend time with her, so you guys get to share in this joy and this goodness. But take that note. It's not about your ego, folks. It is about something bigger than you. And the minute you start claiming it's about you, you are royally effed. I can't say those words because it's like one of those things I can't say. So with that in mind, Donna, because Donna is she keeps it real. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us.
Thank you for having me. I love being here. Love the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you to Dayton and Epic.